In this video we will explore the concept of self-replicating machines, its history, self-replicating machines in fiction and lastly recent developments. A self-replicating machine is a theoretical artificial construction able to make a copy of itself in an autonomous way using raw materials in its surroundings. It would need to be able to obtain energy and raw materials, process and transform on its final components and join them together to make a copy of itself. The concept of self-replicating machines was proposed and examined by Homer Jacobson, Edward F. Moore, Freeman Dyson, John von Neumann and in recent times by K. Eric Drexler in his nanotechnology book Engines of Creation and by Robert Freitas y Ralph Merkel in their article Self-Replicating Machines giving the first comprehensive analysis of the replicant designs. It is believed to be unlikely one machine to be able to self-replicate completely, but may be a group of machines cooperating between them or using a factory of automaths producing all machines needed for self-replication. That factory may produce mining robots to extract or collect raw materials, other robots to join new machines and repair robots to maintain their components from exhaustion produced of its own operation without human intervention. It would have the advantage of rapidly expanding its own capacity without any human effort. Such machines don't violate any law of physics. Some of the required technologies needed to create some designs already exist. General concept of self-replicating machines dates back to at least the 17th century. René Descartes suggested the Swedish Queen Christina that the human body could be considered a machine. She replied pointing to a clock and said, "See to it that it reproduces offspring." Samuel Butler proposed in Eruhan machines are able to reproduce themselves but it was man who made them do so and added that machines which reproduce machinery do not reproduce machines after their own kind. In 1802 William Paley formulated the first known theological argument in which machines produce other machines. He suggested it could be demonstrated that a clock was able to make a copy of itself. The scientific study of self-replicating machines was anticipated by John Bernal in 1929 and by Stephen Kleene who started to develop recursion theory in 1930. Much of the work was motivated by his interest in algorithms and information processing. A conceptual proposal for a physical non-biological self-replicating machine was proposed for first time by John von Neumann in his talks between 1948 and 1949. He proposed a cinematic automata self-reproducing model in his mental experiment. It would use a C or storage of spare parts to use as raw material. It had a program stored in a memory tape to get parts of this C using a manipulator, joining and duplicating them. Later it copied the content in its memory tape duplicated shortly before. However, von Neumann was unsatisfied with the idea of developing a self-replicating model due to it was difficult to analyze the mathematical concept. In 1956 Edward F. Moore proposed the first known practical suggestion of a self-replicating machine published in Scientific American. Artificial living plants were proposed as machines able to use air, water, and soil as raw materials obtaining energy of sunlight using a battery or a steam engine. Moore selected coast as a potential habitat for such machines giving them an easy access to salt water chemicals suggesting that successive generations of machines could be designed to float free over the surface of the ocean like self-replicating factory barges or they could be put in a desert. The replicants would be grown by their component parts to be used by the humanity in other machines non-self-replicant. The next major development of the self-replicating machines was a series of developments proposed by physicist Freeman Dyson in a talk he gave in 1970. In the first one he proposed the idea of sending a self-replicating system to Enceladus. It would be programmed to produce parts of itself and make and launch space probes propelled by solar sails. This probes would transport blocks from Enceladus to Mars to terraform it. The second proposal was a factory system powered by solar energy designed for a desertic terrestrial atmosphere. The third one was an industrial development kit based on this replicator to be sold to developing countries and give them an advanced industrial capability. When he revised his talk he added several proposals to modify the version of maritime artificial living plants designed to distill and store fresh water to be used by humans and in space exploration. In 1995, Klaus Lackner and Christopher Wendt inspired by Dyson's suggestion of planting uninhabited deserts with self-replicating machines developed this system with more detail. They proposed a colony of mobile robots cooperating with size no more than 30 centimeters working using ceramic electrified rails surrounded by a stationary factory maker and solar cell fields. This proposal didn't include a complete analysis of the requirements of materials to make such system, but it described to extract 10 chemical elements common in the superior layers of the Earth. This proposal was popularized in Discover magazine, characterized by a desalination equipment powered with solar energy used to irrigate the desert. They called those machines oxens from the Greek word oxion, which means to grow. In 1980, NASA conducted a study with American Society for Engineering Education called Advanced Automation for Space Missions to produce a detailed proposal of self-replicating machines that would extract lunar resources without the requirement of additional launches or human presence. It was conducted in Santa Clara University. The proposed system would need to increment exponentially the productive capacity, and the design could be modified to construct self-replicating probes to explore the galaxy. The design included several computer-controlled electric carts moving in rails inside the factory. Moving machines with large parabolic mirrors to focus the sun's light into the lunar regolith to fuse and synthesize it in a hard surface able to be used as a base for construction over it, and frontal robotic chargers in open skies mining. Large transports with lots of robotic arms and tools to manipulate the pieces were proposed. They would make and join all parts together to create new factories. Energy could be given by a giant cover of solar cells supported by pillars. Other machines would be put under this cover. A foundry robot may use tools to sculpt and templates to make plaster molds. Plaster was selected due to molds are easy to make. Precision molds can be made with good finishes, they can be recycled. Robot could count with a welding and cutting it would put inside molds most of the pieces produced. Some experts are beginning to consider to use this concept for asteroid mining. In fiction, the idea of self-replicating machines dates back until 1920 with the script of Rossum Universal Robots written by Carol A. Peck. In 1943, A. E. van Vogt used the idea for its own plot M33 in Andromeda. The tale describes the creation of self-replicating weapons designed to destroy Anubis, a galactic-reach malevolent alien life form dedicated to the destruction of humanity. There are many other science fiction tales based on self-replicating machines. For example, Terminator describes an artificial intelligence known as Skynet. They appear in science fiction series as popular as Stargate or Star Trek. The first experiments with rapid prototyping of self-replicating machines in the late 90s was oriented towards simulation of techniques of evolutionary robotics in the physical world. Only in the first years of the XXI century, advances were only made like the RepRap project from Bath University using a 3D printer with fused deposition modeling to develop plastic components, obtaining significant advances. In the year 2006, the machine produced a basic functional prototype. In 2008 it produced all needed plastic parts required to produce a machine exactly like the original one. This project is published under new GPL license. In 2005 several Cornell researchers implemented a self-joining machine. It works with a robotic arm collecting near cubes. The arm is controlled with a computer program contained inside each cube, though the machine is able to assemble individual cubes. Subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for the next videos.